So last night, 60 Minutes, a news magazine program.
The best.
It's different from a news show.
Is it really?
It's a news magazine program.
News magazine program.
I apologize. Program.
It had Andy, what's his name on, right? Rooney.
Andy Rooney?
Wasn't he on there?
I have no idea. The Facebook whistleblower was Francis Haugen yesterday. And this is the new Facebook whistleblower. And look, I want to tell you, look, people are talking about this now, and I want people out there who, not just if you're conservative, if you value your liberty. You know, they always say, there are racist dog whistles, right? Where people, for example, things like freedom, things like taxes, right? Things like don't tread on me. They say these are secretly racist dog whistles. Tea Party, racist dog whistle. MAGA is a racist dog whistle. These aren't dog whistles when we're talking about supporting authoritarianism so much as giant loud whistles, okay? Just to be clear, you guys, beware the Trojan horse with this lady. Whenever someone uses the term hate speech, unironically, or whenever someone tries to say that we need to be doing more about misinformation, while simultaneously we have Twitter fact-checking obituaries, and we'll get to Snopes in a second on the new drug coming from Merck. These are not people who are looking to regulate the industry in a way that is pro-freedom, in a way that opens up competition. So I see people both on the left and the right thinking that this is something that it's not. Let's look at what she had to say on 60 Minutes.
Frances Haugen told us she was recruited by Facebook in 2019. She says she agreed to take the job only if she could work against misinformation.
Red flag one.
Because she had lost a friend to online conspiracy theories.
What?
Complaints
What
say
does that mean?
Facebook's own
Drinking tap
research
water?
shows that it amplifies hate, misinformation, and political unrest.
He started accusing,
But the company
he started
hides what it
chastising
knows.
frogs for being
She
homosexual.
says evidence shows that the company is lying to the public about making
that is a
significant
handsome
progress
woman.
against hate, violence, and misinformation.
Hate, violence,
When we live in an
misinformation.
information environment that is full of angry, hateful, polarizing content,
Predator
it
took off his
erodes
mask.
our civic trust.
Can you
It
turn
erodes our
around so I
faith in
can
each
finish?
other. It erodes our ability to want
The
to
interview.
care for each other. The version of Facebook that exists today is tearing our societies apart and causing ethnic violence. They told us we're dissolving civic integrity. Like, they basically said, oh, good, we made it through the election. There wasn't riots. We can get rid of civic integrity.
No, there were
now.
plenty of riots before the election.
Fast
What are you
forward a
talking
couple
about?
months,
This is
we
Black
got
Lives Matter.
insurrection. And
Peaceful
when they
protests.
got rid of civic integrity, it was the moment where I was like, I don't trust that they're willing to actually invest what needs to be invested to keep Facebook from being dangerous.
Now, to keep Facebook from being dangerous, be aware of what she's saying. It's dangerous if people are allowed to spread misinformation. Well, what's misinformation? For example, you're not allowed to discuss ivermectin.
Yep.
That was something. You're not allowed to suggest that originally, right, when they said there would be 2 point whatever million deaths in America, you weren't allowed to suggest that would be incorrect. When they said that masks don't work, don't wear masks, you were not allowed to say, actually, that's not true if used in the appropriate hospital setting. And of course, now you're not allowed to say, actually, masks may not be as effective if not used in their appropriate hospital setting with these certain set of guidelines. In those cases, of course, masks are appropriate and masks can work if you follow the guidelines that we've always had for masks. I've got to be very, very careful.
Very
here.
careful.
Otherwise, it could be misinformation.
I know.
When you had people saying it was a mortality rate in the general population of 4%. You couldn't say, actually, these doctors say that it is significantly more comparable to, let's just say, less deadly viruses or diseases than one that might kill you at 4%, getting into borderline polio territory. That's misinformation. Let's be really, really clear when she says we want to get misinformation and I lost a friend to misinformation, and they continually recite rules like hate speech. If anyone uses the term hate speech, this is someone who believes in an authoritarian government. Hate speech is not a thing. It does not exist. It is not real. It is an all-encompassing term that allows someone to determine what is too offensive to be spoken. See Australia. See Canada, where comedians and pastors get jailed.
Yeah, absolutely. And people never ask that second question. It's like, oh, well, it sounds good to get rid of disinformation and hate speech.
Sure.
And things. It's like, okay, well, define it. No, one, nobody can. And two, it will always change because it is not definable. It just depends on who is making the judgment call at this. And we just talked about somebody on Twitter fact-checking an obituary. It's like, okay, come on, guys. Are you the same people telling me on Facebook that this is hate speech? Really?
Yeah, this is what's going on right now in this country. So let's compare that, by the way. What was the coverage of the James O'Keefe whistleblower from Project Veritas? That didn't get a 60-minute special. I wonder if it could be maybe for, can we roll that clip?
Facebook uses classifiers in their algorithms to determine certain content to be what they call vaccine hesitant, or they call it vaccine
his mistake is he
hesitancy
brought
without
receipts.
the user's knowledge. They assign a score to these comments that's called a VH score, the vaccine hesitancy score. And based on that score, will demote or leave the comment alone, depending on the content within the comment.
What's your read on this?
The borderline vaccine framework, shocking stories, potentially or actually true events or facts that can raise safety concerns.
And by the way, we've run afoul of this on YouTube.
Of course.
Potentially.
In the past, where they go, even if you quote the CDC, but it may craft a narrative that might cause vaccine hesitancy, they reserve the right to, it used to be there were community guidelines and there were advertiser-friendly guidelines. Then they created, some in the industry referred to it as a Crowder rule, borderline content. Sorry.
You screwed it up for everybody. Way to go.
Dang it.
Screwed up for everybody by
about it,
providing references and sources.
It's true.
That's the problem, is when they can't get around. Hold on a second. You're providing references and sources to PubMed. You're providing them to liberal sites. And again, all references available today at loudwithcrowder.com. If we can use
Down
New York
below.
Times or Fox News, we'll use the New York Times. If we can use an objective resource, that's what we use first. And they say, well, you did use these sources, but it may cause vaccine hesitancy. So disappear you go.
Your story doesn't matter anymore.
And this lady wants that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's be clear. She wants that, and as far as I've seen, she doesn't have the same level of receipts and research as the James O'Keefe guy.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that Facebook did, and by the way, I don't know if you guys thought this, but when I saw that this story was happening, I was like, oh, good. Somebody's going to come out and tell us how diabolical Facebook is and how in the bag for Democrats and liberals they are and how much they want to silence speech they disagree with. Whoops. I had no idea that was coming out of the gate. It needs to be more, you need to suppress
I was
more.
tipped off when I first saw the numbers 60. And I was like, minutes?
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I knew where it was going.
You knew before I did. But one thing that they'll do, they'll just they did for, I can't remember what live stream it was. Maybe it was the Oscars, where they just pulled it down.
Ours?
Yeah, remember we
Oh,
were doing that a long time ago? So that's what
Well, the
Facebook-
Stephen Colbert thing we did last week just got blocked in some countries, specifically Japan first. And we've seen in the past where they block it in a country with heavier copyright laws, and then it moves to another country, and then eventually it's blocked in the United States. This was with a manual review, to be clear. We were clearly reacting to the god-awful dress up as vaccines and dance like a San Francisco Pride
They
parade.
had needles dancing.
and we're the
was
ones they
horrible.
flagged. Come on.
It's the worst thing that's ever happened in late night.
Yes.
There's nothing worse. It's worse than James, whatever his name is, doing carpool karaoke.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
All right, you're right. It's
That's
better
pretty
than
bad.
Yeah, that
I hope he never gets T-boned.
that's caused I just hope he never plays carpool karaoke with Caitlyn Jenner.
No, ever.